सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्. We have come to the 13th sloka in chapter 4. Paramatma talked about Avatara Rahasyam. And now he is going into proper text, that is the Jnanam. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogam. That is the topic. Paramatma talks about two goals for all human beings. One is called the mundane goal, the other one is a spiritual goal. Mundane goal means the local objects and local achievements are called mundane goals. We want to build a house. We want to have a lot of property. All these targets, all these goals are called mundane. Get promotion, get children, all these things, they come under mundane goals. Whereas spiritual goal is totally different. The first one is called Pravrutti Margam. The second one is called Nivrutti Margam. The second one is totally different to, diagonally opposite to the Pravrutti Margam, the Prayo Margam. The Shastra slowly takes the human being from Prayo Marga to Shreyo Marga. So it is like this, though Prayo Marga is very pleasing and appealing, but it will not give you the liberation, the inner space. It will not give you the liberty. It will not give you the freedom from the shackles of the samsara. So it is like this, a smoker reads a book. It is mentioned that smoking is hazardous. By smoking, you will get so-and-so disease. All through the book, it is written vividly about the dangers of smoking. So he said, I stopped. Stopped what? Reading that book. So, directly if you tell a good thing, come to Shreyo Marga, people will not take up this Shreyo Marga. They will leave the Vedanta. As it is, they are not taking up. Those who have slight inclination will also go away from this Shreyo Marga. So, Veda gives the goal in a sugar-coated pill. Sugar-coated pill is very sweet to take, but inside it is bitter. Before you taste, you just gulp it and get the benefit. So in the same way, Veda initially takes care of all the needs of the human being, all the mundane needs it fulfills, and takes care of all the local needs of the human being, and then slowly it advises the human being to come to the Jnana Yoga, the spiritual path. So two goals, mundane goals and spiritual goals. Further, two paths are there. For mundane goals, the karma margam is there. If you do a particular yajna, you can fulfill whatever the desires you have. So, in the karma marga, there are so many rituals. By doing those rituals, you can fulfill all the, mundane desires. And after having fulfilled the desires, the jiva recognizes all these desires have three defects. What are the three defects? They are all dukkha mishritatvam. They are all, having misery, which is a part of the package. And second is atruptikaratvam. There is no satisfaction anywhere. Then the third one is bandhakatvam. Every karma binds the human being. So, having recognized the three defects, a person gets a desire to be free from all the three defects. That is the Nivrutti Margam or Shreyo Margam or Jnana Margam. So slowly he changes from karma, Kevala karma to Karma Yogam to Jnana Yogam. So initially Veda encourages all human beings to take up the Kevala karma for want of satisfying, for want of getting their desires fulfilled. And at a later stage, it slowly encourages the sadhaka towards the Shreyo Margam. So this is the scheme. So for mundane goals, we have to follow Karma Marga. For spiritual goals, you have to follow Jnana Margam. So this is what we have. So that is why this particular chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogam. Jnanaya Karma Sannyasam. For the sake of Jnanam, you have to renounce karma. So that is the topic. However, the karma is inevitable. Karma you cannot escape. It can cease only with death. Any ashrama if you take, brahmachari, gruhastu, sannyasi, vanaprasthi, everyone is doing karma. There is no one who can avoid karma in this srishti. Everyone is inevitably doing some karma or other. Karma is a must for everyone. For Sarira Yatra, at least to run your day-to-day life, you have to do some karma. So that is what the Shastra insists. You cannot avoid the karma totally. If you look at this Srishti, the minutest atom, in that atom the electrons are revolving all the time. If you look at the cosmos, the solar system, all the planets are revolving around the sun, and the sun is rotating itself. So that way, in this entire universe, everything is dynamic. Everything is doing something or other. There's no object or nobody who can avoid work. So this is a compulsory thing for all the people, and for Vyashti also, for an individual also, karma is a must. For Samashti, the cosmos, also the karma is a must. Okay, we will take up the karma. So what will be the problem? If you take up the karma, then there are some side effects. What are the side effects? While taking up the karma, you get a tension. Whether I can ever take up that work, or will I, take up that work and be successful. Like that, before taking up an action, you have tension. While doing that action also, you have a tension, whether you can perform it properly or you will stop it in the middle. So like that, you have the tension while performing the action. And after the action, also you have a tension. What is that tension? For any action, you do it for want of some result. Now the tension is, after finishing the action, you have the tension whether you get the desired result or not. So that way, the karma is full of tension and full of anxiety. So, how to do it without any anxiety? How to do it without any tension? What is the solution? If you ask, the solution is given by Paramatma. The solution is titled as Karma Yoga. You cannot avoid karma. That is what Paramatma told. So when you cannot avoid karma, do action. But when you do action, you are facing side effects. So how to avoid the side effects? So if you take an example of a jackfruit, the jackfruit, when you cut it, a lot of glue is there. So it will stick your hands. So to avoid this, what they do is they apply coconut oil to the hand and then cut the jackfruit. In the same way, Karma Yoga to some extent can solve the side effects, but it cannot totally avoid the side effects. To avoid the side effects totally, one has to switch over to Jnana Yogam. When one switches over to the Jnana Yogam, then you can avoid the side effects total. It is said that karmana badhyate jantuhu. People are, they are bound by karma and karma phala. So they are totally engrossed in a work and then they get stuck to that work. Some people say that we cannot live without work. Workaholism it is called. That is also not correct. So slowly you have to move from physical action to mental action and then no action. That is the stage. Our spiritual life gives you a stage of contemplation where there is no physical work. So here in this sloka 13th, we'll just read this 13th sloka. Chaturvarnyam maya srushtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram api mam vidya kartaram avyayam. Maya gunakarma vibhagashaha chaturvarnyam srushtam tasya kartaram api mam avyayam akartaram vidhi. So Paramatma says, I have created the Chaturvarnas, all the 4 Varnas I have created. What are those Varnas? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudra. And that means I am doing action. What action? Tasya kartaram api mam avyayam akartaram vidhi. So, though I am doing all the action, what kind of action Bhagavan is doing? Bhagavan is having a lot of work. He is creating, then he is sustaining, and then he is resolving. So, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, all the 3 actions he is doing in a periodical way. So, in all these actions, he is involved in the work, in doing action. Tasya kartaram api mam akartaram vidhi. Mam avyayam akartaram vidhi. I am the avyaya. I am a changeless and eternal tattvam. Therefore, I am not doing any work. May you understand that I do not do any work. So, you have to understand that Jnana Yogam is the right solution for this. When you understand the Jnana Yogam and try to live in that reality, you understand that though you are doing work, you are not affected by the work. You don't get any punyam or papam. You are totally free from the actions, the results of the action. Paramatma gave this. Here he introduced a very sensitive topic, what is called Varna Vyavastha. Today, it is a very sensitive topic because it has gone to a proportion which is beyond the imagination of anybody. So, it is put a lot of blame. But the original design, original idea is, excellent, and it can give growth to the society. It can make the society grow spiritually and also economically. And therefore, Paramatma has instituted this Varna Ashrama Dharmas. Varna Ashrama Dharmas. First we'll see what is Varna Vyavastha. Varna Vyavastha. Society is divided into 4 categories. If you follow these 4 categories, any society will flourish. This is there in every society. may it be Western society or the Indian society, though this Chaturvarnyam, the names are not there, but this Vyavastha is there. What are the four categories? If you look at the society, any society, you may take an American society or an European society, any society you take, you find four different kinds of people in the society. What are the four different kinds of people? The first one is the teaching people, scientists and preceptors who will protect the value system, who will protect the dharma, who will protect the ecological balance, who will protect the entire world by setting up the values of the society. So the first category is called the Brahmana. In Indian society, a label is given a Brahmana society, a Brahmana Varna. This particular segment of the society is called Brahmana Varma. Though in other societies like America or Europe and other societies, this kind of people are there, teaching people are there, scientists are there, preceptors are there. There's no label. Here, the Indian society has got a special name for this particular segment. It is called Brahmana Varnam. The second category of the people in the society, any society again, you understand that the second category, there are rulers who set the rules of the country, who can impose the rules of the country. There are rulers, there are administrators. So this is the second category. It applies to all societies. And this particular segment is called Kshatriya Varnam in India. And the third category, for any country to flourish economically, you need trade and commerce. So there are people who take up the trade and commerce, and those who are involved in the trade and commerce in India, they are called Vaishya Varnam. So this is what three categories. Then the fourth category is the mighty workforce. For anything and everything, you need workforce. All the above three categories, if they have to perform their duties, they need a support system. That support system is nothing but the workforce, and it is labeled as Sudra Varna. Now, Paramatma says, I have created this, Varnas, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. By virtue of guna, by virtue of profession, I have designed these four karmas. So, this is about the Varna Vyavastha, which is totally the society-oriented division. Then when it comes to the personal, I'll come back to this in detail again. We have another division called Ashrama Vyavastha. Along with Varna Vyavastha, there is what is called Ashrama Vyavastha, which is a division with respect to an individual. For the growth of an individual, we have a division called Ashrama Dharma. For the growth of the society, the division is called Varna Vyavastha. For the growth of the society, the division is called Varna Vyavastha. For the growth of the individual, the division is called Ashrama Vyavastha. There are four ashramas, as you all know. The first one is called Brahmacharya Ashrama. The second one is called Gruhastha Ashrama. The third one is called Vanaprastha Ashrama. The fourth one is called Sannyasa Ashrama. In the first ashrama, a sadhaka, a seeker, enters the Gurukulam and learns the scriptures under the guidance of an able and knowledgeable guru. So he takes up Gurukula Vasam for a length of 12 years and then learns all the scriptures from the guru. So this brahmacharyam is predominantly education oriented, a learning stage for a sadhaka. After learning stage is over, he marries and enters into Gruhastha Ashrama. In Gruhastha Ashrama, a Gruhastu earns, and then he is supposed to feed all the three ashramas, that is Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa Ashrama. They don't earn. So they depend on Gruhastha. So Gruhastha has to, feed the other three ashramas. Therefore, it is the duty of the Gruhastha to earn and then, feed all the three other ashramas. So this is the system. Then after, spending lot of time in Gruhastha ashrama, doing the karma kanda, doing all rituals, then at the end of the fag end of his life, the Gruhastha will take Vanaprastham. Both the wife and husband, they leave the society, they leave the family, they pin the responsibility to the children, and then leave the family and go to a secluded place and live separately and pursue the spiritual path. So this is the Vanaprastham, second ashrama. This is the third ashrama, Vanaprastham, and fourth ashrama is Sannyasam. Then the Sannyasam is the ultimate Antima ashrama, where one has to live alone and connect to the God. He can totally dedicate his time by listening and Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So that is the 4 different stages. The fourth stage is more amicable for Nididhyasana. So for Nididhyasanam, he should not be disturbed by the family and totally have that, he should have that free time. So Sannyasa ashrama is more suitable for Nididhyasana. So this is how the ashrama vyavastha is instituted by Paramatma alone in order to give the spiritual growth for an individual. In the same way, the society growth is also taken into consideration, and Paramatma created 4 different varnas, 4 different segments in the society level. So what are the 4 different levels in the society? The 4 varnas are Brahmana Varna, then Kshatriya Varna, Vaisya Varna, and Sudra Varna. So this is Paramatma clearly said that I have divided this society into 4 different segments based on 2 strategies. What are the 2 strategies? One is called Guna, other one is called Profession. Guna and Profession. So we all have 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamogunam. Sattva Gunam is more of a contributing type than consuming. In Sattva Guna, you have a lot of compassion and you want to do more to the society than to take from the society. So this is more of an intellectual attitude than actively doing some work. So Sattva Gunam is more of an intellectual activity, more of learning, more of sharing the knowledge and doing a lot of Parayanam, all those things. It will come under Sattva Gunam. Rajo Gunam Rajoguna means to be more active in doing some actions. Tamoguna means inert, not doing lazy type of behavior. It's called tamoguna. So these three gunas are there. If a person is predominantly sattva guna, is dominated by sattva guna, and less of rajoguna and least of tamoguna, then he is called a brahmana by virtue of guna, irrespective of his birth. The birth may be anything, but see, the varna can be decided by jati, guna and karma. Jati means simply by virtue of a birth. By virtue of a birth means if a person is born to a Brahmin, he is a Brahmin. If a person is born to a, he is a Kshatriya. He is born to a Vaisya, he is a Vaisya. Born to a Sudra, he is a Sudra. This is simply by birth. It is called Jati Varnam. Jati Varnam. Then Guna Varnam is not by virtue of Jati, by virtue of merely his attitude, the behavior. A Jati Brahmana may not be a Guna Brahmana. Jati Brahmana is supposed to be a Guna Brahmana, but may not be a Guna Brahmana. If you take the example of Dronacharya, Swadhama, so they are all Jati Brahmana. By birth they are Brahmins, but they have an inclination to fight. So they are Guna Kshatriya. Then Vishwamitra, by birth he is a Kshatriya, but he has got inclination towards tapas and japam and all these things. So he is more of a sattva guna pradhana. Therefore, he is called Guna Brahmana. He is the founder of the Gayatri mantra. He has given Gayatri mantra to the Vishwam, and he is known as Vishwamitra, a friend of the entire world. Mahatma Gandhi of the recent years, he is by birth he is a Vaisya, but by nature he is a Brahmana, Guna Brahmana. So like that, the Guna Brahmana need not be Jati Brahmana. Guna Kshatriya need not be a Jati Kshatriya. In those days, it is so happened they have the Jati Brahmana, Guna Brahmana and Karma Brahmana. They are the all three tally. But nowadays, it will not tally because behavior changes, the attitudes changes. So we cannot pinpoint simply by birth he is a Brahmin. So this is what Guna Brahmana means. Guna Brahmana means one who is interested in the scriptures, scriptural study, and pursue the scriptures. So all this is called do Parayanam. All this kind of Sattva Guna Pradhanam is called Guna Brahmana. So by this definition, all of us, we are Guna Brahmanas, irrespective of the birth. The Jati may be something else, but by Guna wise, we are all Brahmins, Guna Brahmana. So this is about the Guna Brahmana. If the person is more active, selflessly, is active selflessly, then is called Guna Kshatriya. Selflessly means he wants to protect the society, then he wants to do some good to the society. Like that, he is a kind of administrator. Then he is called Guna Kshatriya. By virtue of his guna, he is a Kshatriya. Then he is active, but selfishly active. His activity is only more to himself and his family alone, not to the society. Then he is called Guna Vaisya. Such a person is called Guna Vaisya. The fourth category is he is not active, he is lazy, and he supports the other three categories. Then he is called Guna Sudra. These are all the, four categories which are, defined by virtue of gunam. Then profession. Profession is there, the karma-wise division. Again, by virtue of karma, we have four different varnas. Karma Brahmana, then we have Karma Kshatriya, then Karma Vaisya, and Karma Sudra. The karma means whatever the profession you take. Basing on that, your varna is decided. If you take up the profession of teaching, if you take up the profession of scientific investigation, if you take up the profession of a priest, a purohit, if you take up the profession of a preacher, then you are called Karma Brahmana. Karma Brahmana. Then Karma Kshatriya. By virtue of your profession, if you take up the ruler's role or an administrator, you are an MLA or an MP or a councillor or an administrator in a corporation, a manager in a corporation, then you are called Karma Kshatriya, irrespective of your jati. Your jati may be different. Jati, you may be a Brahmin, you may be Sudra, you may be Vaishya, but you are a Karma Kshatriya if you are on the management side. Then, if you are in the business side means you float your own business and you run a company or you do a trade. So, this kind of profession is called Karma Vaisya. Karma Vaisya. So, for all these three people, Karma Brahmana, Karma Vaisya, Karma Kshatriya, they need a support system. They need people to work for them and help them in their day-to-day activity. So for this, they need workforce, the support system. So this support system is called Karma Sudra. So this way, we have the guna division and the karma division. Then how come this jati division came into existence? This is a simple, eventual outcome. Like, in today, you can see an actor's son becomes an actor. A politician's son becomes a politician. A doctor's son becomes a doctor. Why? Because the ambience is very much, ready and, it is easy for him to take up that profession. A doctor's son can take up the profession of a doctor because, already some, nursing home is set up and, all the infrastructure is ready. So he has to study medicine and simply join his father or mother. Similarly, an actor who is, already in the field can bring his son or, daughter into the field because this is the known field for them and he is already successful. So that is how it is happening. So in the same way, the jati system took place. Now, it has gone to a proportion where it has become a point of ridicule, a point of criticism for the society, because the dominance of the higher varna, other they started dominating the lower varnas. The higher varna started to dominate the lower varna. So the kind of unpleasant situation occurred. If you look at the Vedic times, the Aitareya Maharshi, the Maharshi who actually visualized the Aitareya Upanishad, he is a Kirataka. He doesn't belong to Brahmin Varna. Then the one Ailusha Rishi, who is extensively contributed for the Rigveda, he is not a Brahmin. He is a son of a servant maid. So, like that, there are so many examples in the history. Like we have the Brahmin, Jati, the people who are born in Brahmin Jati, like, the Hiranyakasipu, then Ravana, they're all, from the Brahmin lineage, but they become Rakshasa by virtue of their profession. Trishanku is a Kshatriya, but he became a Chandala. Vishwamitra is a Kshatriya, but became a Brahmin. So, there is no need for a Jati to be praised. If one is not born in a higher Varna, this is not an issue at all. According to Veda, this is not an issue to be considered. Then what is to be considered? What is to be considered is then two more are left. What are the two more? By profession, by karma. Then profession wise also, is there any superiority and inferiority? Profession wise also, there is no superiority and inferiority, because all professions are equally good. All are needed. Every profession is important for the well-being of the society. So, this is there. That is why it is there in all societies. Western society also, these professions are there, though they are not labeled as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya and all that, but it has to be there in every society. All the societies do have these kind of professions in order to flourish, in order to make the society grow economically and cultural wise. All these things, this Varna system, they contribute profession wise and guna wise. If you take the Purusha Suktam, it is said that Brahmano asya mukham asit, asya mukham brahmanaha asit. From that very Brahma, from the face of the Brahma has come. From the face of the Brahmana means the Brahmana's role is an intellectual role. Whoever is taking up that intellectual profession, whoever is having that guna of sattva guna, intellect is sattva guna pradhana. So whoever is having the sattva guna pradhanam, they are Brahmins. Brahmano asya mukham asit. So Brahmano asya mukham asit. Asya mukham brahmanaha asit. From that very Almighty's face, the Brahmana has evolved. That means that he is more of an intellect pradhana. He is more of a Sattvaguna pradhana. Sattvaguna pradhanam is Brahmana. And then Bahu Rajanya Krutaha. This Bahus means from the shoulders, the Kshatriya is born. The shoulders are a representation of the power and administration. So the Kshatriyas are, they are the rulers and they are the, people who can set the dharma rakshanam. By dharma rakshanam and dushta sikshanam, they take up. That is why they are Kshatriyas. Bahu Rajanya Krutaha Uru Tadasya Yadvaisyaha. Uru Tadasya Yadvaisyaha means the thighs. Thighs are, they are more for pleasure. Therefore, the part for pleasure, The Vaisyas are, active but selfish. They are active but selfish. That means they do trade and commerce. So this is the third category. Then Padbhyagum Sudro Ajayata. From the very feet, the support system, the workforce is evolved. Without feet, you cannot imagine a human being. You cannot move from one place to another. The feet are most important, and that is why the presiding deity in the feet is Vishnu. So it is very, very important thing. The support system is very, very important thing. So nothing in the profession we can undermine, we can belittle, we can say this is less and this is good, profession-wise. Jati-wise, you cannot make any gradation. Profession-wise, you cannot make any gradation. Jati-wise, you have no choice of the birth, where you are going to take birth. So that is a choiceless situation. So there is no gradation there. Then profession-wise, all professions are equally divine. They are given by God, and they happen by virtue of your nature. So you can take up as per your nature, whatever the nature fits you, you can take up that profession and then flourish. So that way, all the professions are equally good. One is superior, one is inferior, nothing like that. So while taking up the profession, what our Swamiji suggests is you take up any profession which you like, instead of slogging in a profession which you don't like. So he says that, you take up the profession by your attitude, not by virtue of money. Money should not be the criteria for taking up a profession, because that will satiate your mind. You get that mental satisfaction while doing your profession. If you don't like it and only for money you have joined, then it will create a lot of problem in the mind. So just for the money's sake, don't pick up, don't choose a profession and go ahead. That is what our Paramarthanandaji advises. So by profession wise, absolutely there is no gradation. Jati wise, there is no gradation. Then what about guna? Yes, guna wise there is a gradation. Guna wise, absolutely there is a gradation. Guna Brahmana is superior to the other three categories. Guna Brahmana is superior to Guna Kshatriya, Guna Vaisya, Guna Sudra. So what we have to do is, fortunately, every human being has a possibility to become a Guna Brahmana. Every human being can become a Guna Brahmana. How he can become a Guna Brahmana? He has to change from Tamasika Guna to Rajasic Guna. From a lazy state, he should be active. Basically, a person is lazy in the beginning. So from a lazy state, he should be active. He should start doing work. And from a active life, he should be, in the beginning he will be active, only selfishly is active. For his own earnings, for his own possessions, he will be active. So in order to acquire a house, in order to, get a bank balance, like that, he will be active selfishly. So from laziness to selfish activity, from selfish activity to selfless activity. So he has to move to selfless activity. That means he has to contribute to the society. He has to help the society. He has to protect the society. Like that, his contribution must be there to the society at large. So that is the third stage. So in the third stage, he should not stop there. Then he has to move to the fourth stage, where there is no action at all. It is all, the mental activity, not physical activity, the contemplation. So like that, from tamasic to the sattva guna, he has to move. And from sattva guna, again, he can move further to gunatita. Gunatita means no gunas. Sattvam gunam is not there, rajo gunam is not there, tamo gunam is not there. So, from tamasic guna to rajo guna to sattva guna to no guna. No guna means gunatita. Gunatita means jnani. This is the, travel. This is how a person should travel from sattva guna, from a tamasic nature to higher nature. This is what all of us can try and become a guna brahmana. Guna brahmana is the most important and most adorable segment in the society. Therefore, the Veda prescribes everyone to move from guna sudra to guna brahmana. So by converting oneself into guna brahmana, you can have this knowledge and then get yourself relieved from these shackles of the samsara, and then you get the moksha. The jivan mukti and videha mukti you will get only once you cleanse your antakarnas, once you become sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. That means you become a guna brahmana, and then after that, then by acquiring the knowledge, you can be relieved from the shackles of the samsara. So this is the thing. That is why Paramatma said, I alone created the Chaturvarnas in order to have the upliftment of the society at large. So the 14th sloka, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yobijanati karma bhinna sabhadyate. Karma phale me spruha na ataha karmani mam limpanti iti yaha mam abhijanati saha karma bihi na badhyate. So Paramatma is telling, though I am doing lot of work, karma phale me spruha na ataha karmani mam na limpanti. I don't have any karma phala ashakti. I don't have any kind of obsession for karma phala. Therefore, the actions do not bind me. I can do any number of actions, that those actions do not bind me because I do not have the obsession. The karma phala abhimana is not there. Therefore, I am free from the the papam and punyam. This is what we call it akarta and abhokta, doing something with the attitude of akarta and abhokta. How you can achieve this stage? You are doing a karma thinking that you are the doer and you are the enjoyer. But in the reality, you are the Chaitanyam. Chaitanyam can never do a thing nor it can enjoy a thing. As Chaitanyam, you are a non-doer and non-enjoyer. Therefore, by shifting yourself from body, mind, sense complex to the higher self, that is Chaitanyam, you can understand that you are a non-doer and a non-enjoyer. So, whoever understands this, not only Bhagavan, he says, because of this, I am free from karmas. Not only me, whoever understands this tattvam, whoever realizes this tattvam, whoever be in the reality that he is a non-doer and a non-enjoyer, he is also free from the karma. So he assures those who follow his thought process will also be free from karma phalam. Karma phalam means papam and punyam will not accrue for such a person. Iti yaha mam abhijanati saha karma bhi na badyate. Whoever understand this philosophy, whoever understand this tattvam, they are not bound by karma. This is what Paramatma is saying. Then we'll see the 15th sloka. Evam jnatva krutam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvai purvataram krutam. Hey Arjuna, ancient days, these mumukshus, they understood the secret of my tattvam and they did perform the action. The secret of my tattvam means what? I am the Chaitanyam. I am that, Sat Chit Anandam. As that Chaitanya Surupam, I am not doing any work. The work is happening. So, the Chaitanya Tattvam is my reality. Those whoever realizes this, they are free from the work. So, in the same way, I advise you also, you do the work with the same type of attitude that you are Chaitanya Swarupa, and then take up the work, take up the war, and proceed. Because you are not doing the work as Chaitanyam. As a Chaitanyam, you are free from all work. You are free from doership and enjoyership. So, as a Chaitanya Swarupa, may you take up your Swadharma and do the karma without any inhibition. If you take up the karma without any inhibition, you are free from the agami karma, that is papam and punyam will not accrue you, and you are totally free from all the punyam and papam. So that is what Paramatma wants to advise Arjuna, so that he wants to run away from the battlefield. By giving this advice, Paramatma wants Arjuna to fight and then establish dharma and destroy all the evil force in the society, which is a Kshatriya dharma. So may you do your Swadharma and establish the dharma. And by doing this, when you do it as a Chaitanya Swarupa, you don't accrue any papam or punyam. You are totally free from papa punya. That is the advice of the Paramatma. More we'll learn in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudatyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.